But what is their general feeling as we sit here now, almost 6 months after this took place, to their parents?
These types of homicides are always really difficult for the families, especially domestic violence homicide cases, because that's exactly what this was. You have to figure out how to process the fact that your loved one killed another one of your loved ones. And so that's really hard to deal with. They still, they've got to wrestle with those feelings of the person that they know and love did something terrible to their parents in this case. Their sibling did this terrible thing to their parents, and that's hard because this is somebody, they have that love and that bond with people on with both sides of that, and that can be really hard to process.
You mentioned focusing on rumors, speculation, and circumstances. Without getting into too much detail, what are you referring to?
Just some of the comments online were particularly hurtful to the family by speculating what their parents' positions were on certain issues. As we know, Mia is a member of the LGBTQ plus community, so some people had done some things or speculated on some things that they weren't supportive of Mia and that journey. And that's just not the case. And they just wanted people to know that their parents loved all people and were supportive as supportive parents to all four of them.
Where we stand today, Mia had a recent allegation in jail. And I know you're obviously familiar with that because that'll now be continued as part of the upcoming hearing in about a week or so. From what I gathered at the quick initial appearance the other day. What's the family's thoughts on, and has that been discussed with you on the allegations of assault against jail staff just recently while Mia was incarcerated?
They haven't fully been brought up to speed on that, and I haven't either, as on the full incident, other than what's been released within the charging documents. So, they're hopeful that it is something that can be resolved quickly, so that way they can focus on justice for the parents and having that focus be on that rather than on things that were happening while she's been incarcerated.
And while we're on that topic of justice, on behalf of the family, what would be the justice served in this and the outcome? I know that can take a long time with the court process, but what is the ultimate feeling about what would be just in terms of a court proceeding and process and sentencing for what took place here?
I think they're putting their trust in the prosecutors on making those decisions, on doing all of that, and we fully support the prosecutors in Washington County for that, and trust them to make the best decisions in the interest of not only their parents but also the state in general and the community in general. They did honor the family's wishes immediately in not pursuing a death penalty case, which was their main concern. They did not want this to end like that. And so I think for the remainder of it, they will still put their faith in the prosecutors and the county attorney's office that is prosecuting the case.
How did the siblings in this situation that you represent, how do they describe Mia to you? I mean, how did they describe their relationships with Mia, maybe over the years and before this took place?
I think they're shocked by what took place. You know, as siblings grow up, it doesn't necessarily mean you are closer, but also there's been, obviously Mia's been dealing with a lot of issues over the last few years, and so it can be difficult to, that's something that they're still trying to figure out on processing how this happened exactly, or what exactly transpired, because we will probably never truly get those answers. And that's the hard thing for homicide victims, is that you never homicide survivors, I guess, is you will never really get the answers that you're seeking, and even if you do, it won't be satisfactory. So I think that's the focus for them, is just trying to heal from it while having to still deal with the criminal justice system.
What is the most important thing for the family right now and the siblings right now in terms of the message they'd like to share with the community as this works itself out now in the court process?
I think for them, the big thing that they're trying to focus on is honoring the memory of their parents, of Gail and Joseph, by showing love and support to everybody that they can, by just being good, kind, caring people, which is exactly who their parents were. You know, they're doing whatever they can to extend grace and empathy to anybody that is going through a tough time or is understanding what they're now going through. They didn't certainly expect to be in this type of situation, but the big thing for them is that they would wish that our society as a whole is a lot less hateful and a lot more understanding and loving towards everybody.
What is the difficulty here in balancing? You mentioned they didn't want to pursue the death penalty, but you want justice. So how difficult is that in terms of you've got a family member that allegedly killed two other family members? I mean, this is about as close knit of a situation in terms of tragedy as it ever gets. How does someone go about balancing that in how they feel about what is right for justice served here for the individual that committed the crime?
You know, and that answer will vary from family to family. And it could also depend on the relationship that the perpetrator had with the victim at the time. And so, you know, I think the big thing for them is that they still fully don't know everything that transpired and went down, and we likely won't unless there is a trial where a lot of that comes out. There's that potential that we'll never really get those answers even with a trial. And so I think for them, the key to finding that healing is to try to remember not only their parents the way that they would want, but also remember their sibling in a way that is not the same person that did this. It can be helpful, at least for the psyche, that way to, you know, think of it that way, that the person that did this, although they are technically your sibling, it's not the same person that you remember that you had that loving, caring relationship with prior to this incident occurring, and that can be hard to balance. Finding that justice is something that, again, is individual for each family, and working with the prosecutors in any county that this would happen in is essential, and having that good relationship with them and understanding that they have to balance the interest for the public as well as a quick resolution, because these cases can take a long time. We're just getting started with this. You know, it's not going to be quick. I would expect we will have at least another year and a half, if not longer, with this type of case, because it is two murders. It's very complicated, and there's a lot of moving pieces with it.